Hi, I'm Zurina from Zurina Designs, and today we're going to be doing another really quick and easy jewelry tutorial. This is a really basic skill that we're doing today. It is a simple wire wrapping technique for doing a connector link with a bead. I already have one done here. You can get a closer look at what that looks like, but this is the end result. So you're going to need a few materials. Obviously, you're going to need whatever beads you're working with. I have my abalone beads, and you're also going to need some wire. So I'm using pretty thin wire. It's 26 gauge. This is just plain, it's not gold plated or gold filled or anything. It's just simple gold tone wire, but perfect to practice with and should be pretty easy to work with. This is a little bit more flexible than I'm used to, but we can always work around that. And there's also some pliers that you're gonna need. These are just wire cutting pliers. They're a different type. There's another kind that I have over here that maybe will look a little bit more familiar. There is also these pliers. These are called round nose pliers. These are going to be for making your loops. These are bent nose pliers or bent chain nose pliers. The bend at the front is going to be really helpful when you're kind of wrapping around things, and I'll sort of show you the technique for that. And then these are the go-to. These are simple chain nose pliers. They're pretty standard. I think you can sometimes get them where they're really long. These ones work fine for me. So, all right, now that we have all of our materials, let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut your wire. I am going to give myself, you don't want to cut it with too much extra space, otherwise it'll be kind of a pain to work with. So my bead is 15 millimeters. So I'm just going to give myself, I'll say maybe 3 inches will be good. I have a ruler right up here, you can kind of see. This is actually, I think, for sewing, but I find it really helpful for making jewelry too. Also, I have a tape measure. You can use that, either one, whichever is easiest for you. So I'm just going to cut about 3 inches. And before we put our bead on, we obviously need to have one of the loop ends done. So I'm going to take my pliers with the round nose, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to give myself about 1 inch, and I'm going to make a bend in the wire, and so the further towards the tip, your loop is going to be smaller. So I'm trying to make my loop a little bit bigger. So I am aiming for the middle of my pliers. And I bent my wire, and now I am just wrapping it around. And I'm making some adjustments. And here is my loop before I do anything. Now, you are going to want to grab your chain nose pliers and put the loop between your chain nose pliers, and you're going to get your bent nose pliers. I'm going to make a little bit of a sharper angle right here. I don't know if you could see that. Let's see. It was not like a right angle. It was a little bit, it was a little bit loose and kind of round. So I just made it a little bit of a sharper angle. And now I am going to keep my loop between my chain nose pliers, take my bent nose pliers, and pull towards me. So the end of the wire is on the opposite side of the loop, that I am. So that is why I am pulling it towards me. And I'm kind of moving it so I can keep it pretty tight. You want to have the wire wrapping be really consistent and tight the whole way. And I'm going to wrap this about 4 times. And notice every time I'm wrapping, every time I'm going from one side to the next, I'm turning it each way so I can pull it very tightly. It doesn't take much. Okay, so I am at 4 times wrapped around on this side. Okay, this wire is a little bit more flexible than I'm used to, but that's okay for now. I usually use gold fill wire, and I usually, for things like this, I use half hard wire. You don't normally want super soft wire when you're doing links and connectors, just because the wire is a little bit weaker and it can break on you. So now I'm using these ones. It doesn't really matter which cutters you use. Either one is fine and totally suitable. All right, so now we have our one side. And so we can put our bead on. Actually, before I do that, I am just going to very quickly take my chain nose pliers and make sure that the loops are really tight around, and I am going to squeeze them together. And also make sure the end of my wire is very tightly around. Okay. It takes a little bit of finessing sometimes, and but the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Okay. So now I'm going to put my bead on, and I'm going to take a look at how far away the loop is from the bead, and I kind of want to make sure that the other loop is the same distance away. So I just tend to eyeball this. They're very, very small distances. They're, millimeters. So I tend to eyeball it, and the way I check it is I use my chain nose pliers, see how far up it goes before it hits the loop, and then I just make a mental note of where it's at and do that same thing for the other side to kind of measure that distance. All right. All right. So now we have one side done, and we want to make a 90-degree angle. And we get our round nose pliers again, and we make our other loop. And also the same thing, you want to have the loops on each side be very similar in size. It's one of those small details that really, really makes a piece look very nice and finished. And you can always adjust it too if you make your loop and then you notice they're really drastically different in size. Before you start wrapping the wire around, you can make some adjustments. But this looks pretty good. Try and give you a little bit of, that looks pretty good. So now we're ready to wrap the other side, and it's basically the same thing that we did before. So we're halfway done. So okay. I wrap it one more time. I guess like half a wrap. This wire is very, very small, so you can maybe do a little bit more. Okay, so we'll try this. It looks pretty good. You can kind of see it's about the same distance. I guess it's a little bit shorter, but pretty good. And we can use our wire cutting pliers to snip the end off. And we want to make sure that the end is really, really nicely tucked in and wrapped around the wire really well. So we're just going to go in and make some final adjustments. All right. All right, here we are. And there is our finished link. Thanks so much for joining me for this project. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, let me know below. Till next time, ciao!